Welcome once again to Breakfast Central. Now let's take the conversation to South Africa, where the demand for rhino horns remains a constant threat to the rhino population as crime syndicates continue to operate within African borders. A total of 259 rhinos were poached for their horns in South Africa in the first 6 months of 2022 alone, with the province of KwaZulu-Natal being the hardest hit. Professor James Larkin, director at the Radiation and Health Physics unit at the University of Witwatersrand, has introduced a new project called the Rhizotope Project, or Rhizotope Project, I beg your pardon, which he believes is going to stop the illicit rhino horn trade, and is joining us this morning to give us more information regarding the project. Thanks for joining us, Professor. Good morning to you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
I hope I pronounced that right, first of all.
It's the Rhizotope Project.
Okay, I was close.
Pushed two words together, rhino and isotope. So we sort of push them together as modern media tends to do nowadays.
All right, so quickly, just go ahead and explain what this new project is about, how it works, and also what inspired it.
Basically, what we're looking to do is put small quantities of radioactive material into the horn of a rhino. This has a couple of effects. One, it will hopefully reduce the demand by the end user for a rhino horn. But two, then it makes it easier to track that horn. So if an animal is unfortunately poached, then we are able then to much more easily track that horn as it is moved across international borders, because there's a system in place, a sort of nuclear security system that's been established over the years to prevent the movement of illicit radioactive material. And so what we're doing is we're piggybacking on the back of that whole international infrastructure, which will then allow us to hopefully make it easier to track horn that has been poached. And then the idea came to me. Well, I was approached by someone some years ago and said, look, can we put radioactive material in the horn to, I think their intention was to poison people, and very quickly I said, no, that's not possible, because, you're threatening people's lives. But it did spark the idea in my head that perhaps if we put a small quantity in, that it would then make it significantly easier to track these horns as they are taken, and also tell the world that this horn is radioactive, and use people's natural fear of anything radioactive to reduce the demand for rhino horn. You so correctly pointed out the numbers of animals being poached, and we see in the Kruger National Park that the numbers are dropping catastrophically. Over the last 10 years, we've seen a reduction in something like 75% of these animals. So we've got to do something about it. South Africa is the home to 80% of the world's population of both black and white rhino, and we need to be able to look after this population, because otherwise it's going to be our generation that sees these animals go extinct in the wild.
I mean, that's not something that we want to see. We want to be able to show our children and their children what a rhino looks like. Now let's talk about the effects. Are there any possible side effects of these rhinos being affected by this injection?
The research that we're doing at the moment suggests no. We're at the moment, we're in the stage before we go to a pilot project where we'll actually put up radioisotopes into the horn of the rhino. We are doing a very detailed sort of research program looking at sort of dose calculations to the heads of the rhino. We're doing this sort of the computer-based modelling system, and then we will then build a 3D model of the head of a rhino using 3D printing, and we'll go and confirm our measurements. But the research work so far suggests if we can find a sweet spot where there is enough radioactive material in the horn to set off the detectors at airports and places like that, but not harm the animal.
Well, I also want to talk about the demand for rhino horns. For those of us who have no clue, what these are for, and why anyone will even, be poaching a rhino. Um, Help explain why there's, such a high demand, and, maybe how this project will help.
The demand is, I think, can be split into almost three different categories. There is the traditional medicine demand in the Far East, and that's been going on for probably thousands of years. But more recently, in the last 10 or so years, because various countries in the Far East have seen, their wealth going up, there's a desire to own either the whole rhino horn to be given as a gift, or rhino horn artifacts to be given as gifts to engender favour with colleagues and things like that. And also there is the desire by some people to sort of show off their wealth, and this is done by oftentimes them sort of grinding up rhino horn and putting it into expensive drinks, and then sort of sharing videos and meeting in clubs in various parts of the Far East, where like-minded individuals can sort of show off to one another that how fabulously wealthy they are.
All right, James, let's talk about this project being a success. How positive are you that this is going to be a success? And are you maybe concerned that now that we're talking about these plans, especially on media, are there concerns that maybe these professional poachers can get wind of this information that is being shared and then maybe change their tactics or come up with a much better plan to continue their illicit business?
There is certainly, thing, I think, but what we're doing is by reducing the demand for horn, in the end users, and being able to put pressure onto the smuggling routes, that's going to see a reduction in poaching, because there is we were taking away the demand, and poaching gangs don't go out on spec. They, the kingpin will put together a team and send them out poaching. So he's spending money already to sort of equip these people. So what we will see, hopefully will see, is that they will realise that this is no longer a profitable operation, and they will turn their attentions to other traditional illicit forms of income. I think that's how we look at this process, is that by reducing the demand, making it harder to move through Africa and through the various different ports heading towards the Far East, that will help us reduce the demand. And then on a local basis, we are setting up, as an integral part of this whole project, a social upliftment and education process as well, particularly among young females and ladies who live in those areas, and getting them to realise that a rhino on 4 feet is a far more valuable asset to that community than an animal that has been poached. If you have people working in the tourism industry now in South Africa, I don't know what it is in Nigeria, but it's certainly in South Africa, 1 in 7 jobs is associated with tourism. And so we need to be looking after those jobs. We need to be developing additional decent jobs that are going to allow, people within the local area to, lift themselves up and have a better standard of living. And that's integral to this whole project, is these educational and uplift projects involved with it as well.
Well, Professor, a lot of work obviously needs to be done. I hope that this works. And that in a year or in 2 years, we can have a different conversation and have success stories being spoken about. But thank you so much for your time and for the work that you do.
Thank you very much for offering me this opportunity to tell you all about it.
Absolutely, looking forward to seeing you again. Have a good day.
Hopefully, we'll do it with results that say we reduced the poaching. So thank you very much for your time and energy.
Absolutely. All right.